Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
And welcome to another edition of 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Hatfield and Young at the PLEX. You see me right behind the PLEX. Ed has got his 500 wins towel on his couch with his Raiders blanket because he's got all kinds of things to do, places to go, people to see, hands to shake, babies to smile and kiss, not shake them. And how are you, sir, after a first week of the NFL? You've been back in school now a couple of weeks, and you look like you're ready for the September fall weather as we're getting the heat behind us.
Good morning. I am ready for it. I don't mind the heat, though. I don't like January, February, the proverbial cold months with snow. So I don't mind the heat. But then again, when it gets down in the upper 70s, nice breeze, football weather in the fall, I'm ready for it.
All right, that's good to know. Hey, we've got a lot of neat things on deck here on the program. We're going to be joined by Stan Cotten. He is the play-by-play voice of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons to get you set for Old Dominion. The Monarchs playing host to Wake Forest. And I have to give you credit. I didn't get our production team with Hometown Sports Productions with Chuck, Nick, and the hardworking people behind the scenes to get this clip cut. We've got some other clips cut. But you did say on last week's show, you guaranteed it, that Old Dominion was going to beat Louisiana, and they did that 38-31 against the Raging Cajuns. You heard that? That was Yosemite Sam talking about them Raging Cajuns, boy. And they got it done, so kudos to you. You were on top of it.
I would take that. It's a gut feeling. I looked at the numbers, and I said, well, the numbers don't show the heart of Old Dominion. They're going to take.
You didn't look at any numbers. First of all, don't lie to the audience out there. You looked at zero numbers.
I very rarely will say that which is talked in jest. I very rarely am going to lie to the outside world. If I don't know it, I got to go look it up. But I have to say this week, the Old Dominion faithful will not enjoy a win. A little bit different level opponent, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons.
Okay, well, we'll dive into that with Stan Cotten. They are a pretty sizable 14-point underdog. And I don't know if you caught it. Did you catch any of the Friday night action before we get to the high school football scores from Thursday and Friday? Did you catch any of the Maryland-Virginia first meeting since 2013? The Cavaliers were all excited. They were up 14-7 after one. And then that was about it after they had the tough loss last week in the game, one of many games that got started, got stopped with weather. Terps blew them out in the second half 42-14 as they're now a nice 3-0 with the other Talia Tungavailoa to go with Tua's success with the Miami Dolphins there. And Maryland's thinking they're going to make some noise this year in the Big Ten. What do you think?
I think Maryland will. That was a game again of the year. I didn't see Virginia winning any stretch of imagination, but I don't think Maryland's one of the Big Ten powerhouses, top 3-4. I don't see that. I think they'll get their share of wins. I think they'll have a winning record in the Big Ten, but they're not one of the powerhouse teams.
There you have it. Hey, by the way, you see on the screen, you got a Player of the Week nominee or stats of any stand-up performers you'd like to share for the show. Email us that info at hatfieldsports@gmail.com. We had our Chicho's 757 Football Player of the Week. We'll show that to you if you missed it on the hash with Hatfield earlier this week. But let's go through the scores from Thursday night first. Ed, are you ready to go through the high school football results that we had take place?
See if Young beats Hatfield in the picks. Let's roll it.
That's never going to happen, and it didn't happen on that particular Thursday night in September on the 14th day of the month. So let's go through the games and the action that took place on Thursday night as we look first across the Beach District action that transpired. In the Beach, Green Run victorious 62-0 over First Colonial as they continue to put up major numbers. As we look at quarterback Kassan Farrar coming into the game with Green Run and First Colonial. We had on the show last week with Moritz Smith. I'm blaming you for jinx because his team took an L after he spoke with you, and not so much because he spoke to me. But Farrar finds Keelan Brody Adams for a touchdown pass. 49 in the career now of the Virginia Tech commit Brody Adams. And I know it was reported initially by outlets out there that it was the state record. Well, technically not yet for Brody. He's going to get it soon. A couple of Spaldings from South County that are not in the official VHSL record book. Brock Spalding and Dylan Spalding with 51 and 52, I think, respectively, although we're not positive that one didn't have 54. But Green Run's offense continues to hum at a major clip this year, Ed, as they now, on the season, are putting up through 4 games a whopping, and I do mean whopping, 50.8 points per game. Who's going to stop these guys? It's, as the old saying, cliche goes, the only way to stop them is if they stop themselves. I mean, that's pretty much what it looks like right now.
Based on those kind of scores, 50 points a game, now you're talking basketball scores. You're right. And if you don't get them early in the season, barring potential injuries, which we never hope, maybe a mental letdown, they feel like they're invincible and they don't put all out in one game, and opponent all of a sudden plays a great game against them, that could be their downfall. I did say earlier in the summer, Green Run will not go undefeated, and I meant regular season. But as each week goes by, the less of the opportunity for the opponents to shut them down, and just Green Run is clicking on offense the whole way. So the old idea, you got to play your absolute best and hope they play poorly to have a chance to beat them.
A couple of touchdown catches for Adams, a touchdown screen pass to Jaden Anderson. Caleb Turner recovers a fumble. The defense has pitched back-to-back shutouts, so they're looking very, very good from that perspective on the defensive side of the ball for the Stallions. In the Beach District, the game of the night really was over at Tallwood with Salem High and Tallwood. The Sun Devils going back and forth. They trailed 30-26 in the third quarter. Jason Scooter Williams finds Caden Davis for a touchdown. Amari Harmon had a big catch to the 1-yard line from Jacob Rojas. He had 6 grabs for 112 yards and a score. He's a class of 2026 talent, a sophomore to know. But Williams found Caden Davis for a big 43-yard touchdown in the fourth period. Davis also had a pick 6, and he's going to make a big case for Chicho's Pizza 757 football player of the week, as he had not 1, not 2, but 3 touchdown grabs, a 69-yard pick 6, holding off the big game from Rojas for Tallwood, who had 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game. I think he had 3 passing, 1 rushing. It was Salem 46, Tallwood 42. I know you love the high-scoring affairs, Ed. Well, that one was definitely one of them with the Sun Devils and the Lions. We both had Salem winning it, but we thought maybe more in the 20s than the 40s, but those two offenses were clicking on Thursday night.
Yeah, I'm surprised Tallwood got that high up. I think I had a little bit lower scoring game with Salem, I think by a 2-touchdown winner. So hats off to Tallwood, even though it was a loss, tested them to the limit, put points on the board. They can do that in the majority of the rest of their games. They're going to win a lot more than they're going to lose. And I think Salem's a team, once they get going and find themselves, that's a tough team to beat, and I think that's a team that could give Green Run an issue.
Well, we'll see. The Sun Devils still have some work to do. They did have a very close escape against Ocean Lakes, winning that on the field goal at the end, 23-22. Lost to Bayside, 27-21. Next up for them is a trip to Cox. Then they'll host Landstown. That Green Run game is not until October the 20th on Dahlia Drive on the road, but I think it's going to be hard to win that game unless you're maybe a Maury or a Highland Springs or somebody of that ilk. A Freedom of Woodbridge, one of these teams that's had a long winning streak and beaten some top-tier competition. Well, I mentioned Cox. They won 10-3 over Ocean Lakes. Defense was rather stout for them coming off that win over Bayside, coming from behind with a 75-yard drive in the last 2 minutes of that game, 14-9. So here they are after the 51-17 loss to Green Run, 14-9 win over Bayside, 10-3 win over Ocean Lakes. Tyler Noe's quietly got the Falcons at 3-1, Ed, before their matchup coming up with Salem, and then they travel to Tallwood. So 2 offenses, we'll see if they can pose a threat like Green Run's did to Cox, led by Gerard Johnson, the Virginia Tech commit on the defensive line. But if you're Coach Noe and defensive coordinator Brian Graham, you have to like the way they're playing on that side of the football. Now it's just continue to manufacture points on offense and be steady, don't turn the ball over, and then play an efficient brand of football. Yeah,
you mentioned it, the defense gets going because obviously in football, it seems like teams can put points on the board. but can you shut the other team down that's normally putting points on the board? You get your defense going. A very good defense will keep you in almost every ball game. You want to turn around and say, well, if you're scoring points, scoring touchdowns, you're going to be in every ball game. But you still got to shut people down. You score 43, you give up 41. You have a chance of losing that game. Normally when you get 43 points, you're playing backups and triple backups. But that's not necessarily the case in a lot of situations. And Tallwood proved their worth in the game. Even though they lost, they proved they could put the ball in the end zone.
They really did. Two more scores to tell you about in the Beach District from Thursday night's action. It was Landstown prevailing over Bayside by a count of 14-6 as they were able to even their record to 2-2 on the campaign. Kempsville a 49-14 victor over the Princess Anne Cavaliers as Kempsville's getting another good performance on the ground game, Ed, with Tajay Curtis. He's only a freshman. We talked about him last week on our Hats Hits. We actually highlighted it on the Hats Hits. We didn't do it on the show. We missed it. We did it on the Hash with Hatfield on our Thursday episode on the podcast here on the Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel, and also streaming on our Facebook page, was on virginiapreps.com as well. But Curtis with another big performance on the ground for Kempsville. As you look at what he's doing here lately, he has been a difference maker for them to get them back to 500 at 2-2 after there was 2 losses to begin the season to Green Run, which was expected, and then the double-digit lead they blew against Kellum. 158 yards rushing, 3 touchdown runs. And how about Landstown getting it done with defense? 5 takeaways in the second half. They held Bayside to just 8 first downs on the night, and it was a 7-6 lead. Had a long drive, didn't score it to begin the game, but they get a pick 6 to put it on ice with Kajan Fletcher at the end. Someone I know had the Eagles. Someone had the Marlins. How'd that work out for you, sir?
I don't think I got that one.
No, I don't think you did.
I think I did. I was trying to stay with Coach White over there at Bayside, thinking they've shown a little bit of up and down early in the season. I thought I could catch them in their up phase, but it wasn't to be.
Well, would you like to hear what Robert Jackson had to say, the veteran, the old wily veteran after Landstown's victory over Bayside? He once coached John White. Would you like to hear what he had to say after the win?
Yeah, I always got to hear Coach Jackson. He's got that commanding voice.
Commanding voice. Well, we talked to the commander-in-chief over at LHS Concert Drive, I think it is in Virginia Beach. Here's Robert Jackson after the win. A big one over the Bayside Marlins here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Hatfield and Young at the Plex. All right, here with Landstown head football coach Robert Jackson. As Eagles win a hard-fought, tough one tonight, 14-6 over the Bayside Marlins. And coach, your kids are celebrating on the bus, jumping up and down. They deserve to. You had a couple of hard-fought losses in overtime to Ocean Lakes and Tallwood, but tonight you turned the corner a little bit with a tough win over Bayside here on the road.
Yeah, that was the theme for tonight. We want to find a way to turn the corner. Like I said, we figured we 2 or 3 plays from being undefeated. And, that ain't neither here nor there, but we're happy about tonight. I love the way our kids fought. I mean, it's just a testament of the kind of kids we have in Landstown.
And doing it through some adversity, some injuries. I know Isaiah Lovegreen got hurt early in the game for you on the football. You're missing your starting left guard. I believe it's Jackson. And then also we saw Terrell Bailey get carted off on a stretcher late. How's he doing? And how did you kind of keep it resolved?
He was moving everything.
Okay, good enough.
He was just doing some things for precautionary reasons. We're going to find out. I ain't no doctor, so we're going to find out what's going on. We're praying for the best for him and his family.
Sure. How proud of you in your defense? First half, you held him under 100 yards off and just a couple of first downs. Then in the second half, you got 5 takeaways, including that big pick 6 at the end of the game in the fourth quarter to start the way with Kajan Fletcher.
Yeah, I kind of was hoping that would happen. I was hoping the defense scored. That was our first defensive touchdown. We preached getting points on defense, and we hadn't done it yet, but it came up big. That was a good time to do it.
It's interesting. Both your offense and Bayside's offense had put up some good yards and points coming in through some games, but I think both you and Coach John White, who you coached here at Bayside, had that defensive mindset. Did you kind of feel this will be a low-scoring, kind of a back-and-forth defensive, grimy type of game?
That's our game. We want to be able to run the football and play tough defense. That's what I do, and I don't want to get away from that. And the kids responded well to it. So,
outside of a couple of miscues, your quarterback Zachary Morello had some nice runs on third down. You converted some big third downs on that opening drive. I think 4-4 to begin the game. How crucial was that? Just kind of his poise to hold it together, even through some tough situations.
Zach's our leader. Zach's our leader, and like I said, he made a couple mistakes out there, but he didn't get down. He went out there, and I told him, just take charge of the offense, settle down, and do your thing.
Two more. How crucial was it to not have the negative plays? I mean, it felt like Bayside's defensive front was doing a pretty good job of bottling up the run, but you guys kept pushing forward, and at the end of the game, you were able to kind of salt it away with some run plays to kind of chew some clock and let them have, good field position in your territory.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's our game. We're going to run the football. That's a tough game. 10 yards in the cloud of dust. That's what we believe in. So I told them when they came off the field, one first down, it's over. It was 3rd and 4. Get this first down, it's a done deal, and they responded.
Lastly, outside of Greenwood, who's been dominating the beach, it feels like there's a lot of parity in the district, in the city here. What have you learned about this team 4 games in? And certainly you have a history of making some playoff runs, and this team's probably going to get better as you get closer to November, don't you feel?
That's the plan. They just get better every week, I just think we got a young football team, and I just think we've had guys, they really not used to winning. And I saw a couple of times where we were just I don't know.
I hear you. Well, go enjoy it. I hear you. Go enjoy it, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Classic Robert Jackson as he was distracted by a fan in the background. He didn't know what the guy was doing. I think he was making a funny face. I'm not even sure what he was doing, but hey, their defense has stepped it up. Ed, there was a very scary moment we touched on briefly there, and it was good to hear that he said the young man Terrell Bailey was all right. We had the game delayed for about 30 minutes on Thursday night as he had to get carted off on a stretcher. Ambulance comes, and it's hard for both teams and even the fans, the media, everybody get back to the officials into the flow of a game when you have a 30-minute pause like that. And it was a 7-6 game at that time, Landstown leading by a sliver late in the third quarter. But you've been a part of that on the basketball side of things. When someone gets hurt, it's always tough there. But, Landstown, you lose a couple games in overtime that you could have easily won. Went down to the wire with both Ocean Lakes and Tallwood, and here they are sitting at 2-2, and it feels like they're trending upwards. So my preseason pick of the Eagles to finish second in the beach is not looking as shabby as it was after week 1.
No, I too thought that Landstown would be up there in this district. I thought it'd be Green Run, Salem, Landstown is the top 3 over there in the Beach District. And it's funny listening to Coach Jackson. I just love that drawl he has when he's talking. Trying to build all his reputation is, what we do, playing the defense, moving the ball, turn up yardage here and there. Doesn't really throw it a whole lot. But again, he's developed a style defense. And in past years, we thought of Landstown in terms of having great hands players, offensive threats, the so-called skill guys. But also, they play some pretty harsh defense. I know it's a different coaching regime, but I don't see that much difference in the results for the defense.
A couple other scores from Thursday night. Grafton a winner 52-10 over Newkin as they're getting it done with the passing game to sprinkle in with the running attack that they have over there. And Grafton got that big winner for Pocosin last week, so they're 2-1 suddenly after that early loss that they suffered against Norcom on the road in Portsmouth. I think that's going to help them a great deal to get that taste of adversity. Then they battled through it. And a score that I know maybe caught you a little bit by surprise here. Lake Taylor falling to St. Christopher's 34-7 up in Richmond. They're going to be without their starting quarterback for a couple more games here in Jameer Sporty Freeman. Got ejected in their game against Hopewell late in that game. Titans giving up a lot of points. St. Chris is very good, who beat Lafayette, by the way. Got a UVA commit on the line, and Henry Omahundru. I'm going to butcher that last name, I'm sure. But they're no slouch there. Two other scores, private schools, Norfolk Academy over Isle of Wight 41-8, and Bethel 31-0 over Woodside. Maybe we have to pay a little more attention to David Porter's Bruins over there in the PD.
Yeah, I'm starting to pick up a little bit of steam, putting points on the board. I won't be sold until we get him a couple more weeks.
You won't be sold until you see a couple more weeks, really?
Yeah, see them a little bit more.
He wants to see more. He wants to see more. He's not all bought in. And is it time to be concerned for Lake Taylor? They had that nice win over Camden of New Jersey. They got Maury coming up. It can go from 1-0 to 1-3 in the blink of an eye for them, Ed.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule. Definitely a tough schedule. And if you got youngsters that aren't really playing up to their potential or bad breaks going against you, a la New York Giants last week against Dallas Cowboys. Giants just couldn't do anything right, and it didn't matter because as soon as they made a mistake, Cowboys capitalized on it. So that's what you have to be careful when you're playing those teams that are really good and you're turning the ball over. and they can turn those into touchdowns, you're in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think we're talking enough about Norfolk Academy. We'll have to get on Coach Steve Moniger, I think, here very soon because their offense is putting up points left and right in a big, big way. Young man, I think, for them has had 3 kickoff returns for touchdowns in the first 3 games. I want to say that might be Cooper Zyko. I could be getting the wrong name on that, but they're doing some things on special teams, too, to go with the offense clicking. Right now it is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Hatfield and Young at the Plex. We've got coming up soon, Stan Cotten, the play-by-play voice of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. We'll go through some college football with all of you out there, plus our NFL Week 2 picks after Ed Young. Yours truly, Matt Hatfield. We're both 1 and 2. Our special guest picker, Bruce Pearl, was also 1 and 2. We may have a special guest picker this week. We may not. We may hear from Bruce Pearl. We may not. You'll have to stay tuned for all of that. You can always tweet the show on X at 757 Sports Talk. That is 757 Sports Talk on X, and also send us any questions if you have for the mailbag. I'm still pondering. We might do a mailbag today, or we could save it for next week. We shall see. We're going to definitely try to sprinkle in Hats Hits for you as well here on the edition of the podcast. But as always, we have some great people helping make this possible for all of you out there, and we're going to hear from some of them, including Zoops and Chichos. Let's hear from them now as we take a quick break.
Wish I was out there.
Let's unretire.
Why not?
Ready, Moss.
Dan Marino? You all right?
Hey, Grandpa.
Grandpa?
I still got it.
22.
Number 13.
Let's see. Hey. I need that senior discount.
That's the case. Mr. Marino, you mind if I take a selfie? Thank you.
I'm good right here, bro.
Unretirement? Who'd be dumb enough to do that?
Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
And we're back here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Hatfield and Young at the Plex. Again, we're always taking some tune requests. It can be your own original music. You have to send it in. And if it's not your own original, you must have permission of whoever the artist or artists are. By the way, that commercial with Josh Allen. No selfies for you, Josh. You threw picks left and right. You were more careless with the football than Brett Favre in his glory years. settle down. You're gonna make all the Buffalo Bills fans go mad. And Ed, they're just like Clemson in the red zone. You never have any faith in them getting the job done. They did right before the half against the Jets on Monday night. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, by the way, which completely destroys our fantasy football team. Completely destroys it. You had Kenny Pickett and by the way, real quickly before you hop in here, for those that might have missed it on our show a couple weeks ago, here's what Ed Young said in regards to the New York Football Jets before the season even got underway.
We do have Aaron Rodgers, though, so we're banking on we need him to have a big year.
Now, that was a dumb pick, but that was
it
your
wasn't.
pick.
It was a keeper. It was my first pick last year.
The Jets won't do what everybody's saying they're going to do.
What are they saying they're going to do?
I got people saying they're going to win the division.
I think they will.
I got people saying they're going to win 1 or 2 games in the playoffs.
They might.
I don't even know if they're going to get in the playoffs. And there's no way in God's beautiful world they're going to the Super Bowl.
Is that a guarantee?
$1 million guarantee.
Will you get a tattoo?
If they what?
Go to the Super Bowl.
I'll get a tattoo because that ain't happening.
Jets, Jets. Jets.
You get excited all you want.
I'll trade in my Cardinals fandom for that. Didn't Ron Concord?
Do you feel happy? Do you feel happy about yourself now? Are you
No,
proud of yourself?
No, I feel bad because of how it happened. Rodgers gets 4 plays and he's done for the year. Outside chance career. Not quite. Maybe if he does come back, maybe not the same. That Achilles injury back in the day, that was see you later, see you forever. But that's not the way I didn't see it. I just didn't see them with him. All the big hype about Jets, and all this. And now it's going to be a tough sledding. They still got a lot of really good performers, but it's going to be tough sledding. A lot of people don't want either you like Zach Wilson somewhat or you hate him. And I'm talking about Jet fans because all I heard on Sports Talk this week was, hey, when are we picking up a quarterback? We need to hear him get somebody. Well, what about Zach Wilson? They don't even want to think about Zach Wilson. They're talking about bringing guys out of retirement, not just Brady.
Andrew Luck?
Yeah, Matt Ryan. I mean,
Phillip Rivers?
I mean, how much lack of faith do you have in a quarterback if you're talking about – they even said Colt McCoy. I thought Colt McCoy was an assistant coach somewhere.
No, listen. As a Hatfield, want no part of Colt McCoy. We keep those McCoys far away from us as possible.
Yeah, I know them's fighting words.
Yeah, fighting words. All right, keep them McCoys away. Another stratosphere. Are you ready to go through Friday's action in high school football? One game we didn't touch on, by the way, Quince Orchard out of Maryland, which has won like 32, 33 games in a row. They I thought they might take apart Stonebridge, who's struggling a little bit this year, but still a Class 5 contender under Mickey Thompson. 21-7 lead at the half. Stonebridge had the lead, and then like a 37-yard touchdown pass with about 25 seconds to go, and Quince Orchard stunned the Bulldogs of Stonebridge. But to me, Ed, and it's not one of my hats hits, it was a sign that I know they're 1-3. They got a forfeit win over Woodgrove, and they got good counsel coming up next, so they could easily be 1-4. But I think Stonebridge is going to turn the corner. That was sometimes in a loss like that against a great team, you can show something, and I think they did.
Yeah, to see Stonebridge before they have one win, right?
Yeah, one which was a forfeit win over Woodgrove.
Forfeit. So they have not won on the field yet, and they've lost now 3 games. That's just unheard of. And, you keep saying, or a lot of people keep saying, they're a top 10 team. They're going to contend. Okay, I understand that. But when you're 1-3 and the only win was a forfeit, I'm sorry. I would not put them in my top 10.
I think trust me on this. I think they're better than what you think right now. Let's fire back up the scoreboard music and get through some scores that took place from Friday night action across the 757. And where do you want to go? The beach is already pretty much taken care of, Edward. Do you want to go to some Eastern District action? Where do you want to start with?
What's my shirt say? Warriors, big win. First time in years. Let's go talk about it. Nansemond River, Oscar Smith.
42-28, the Warriors got it done over the Oscar Smith Tigers, and the offense has been humming, as you'll see. We'll just put it up on the screen now. Last week's Chicho's Pizza 757 football player of the week against Deep Creek. Those are his numbers last week. He was 21 of 36. It wasn't the SI cover jinx. It wasn't the Hatfield. We kept you away from making this pick or presentation, because if you had gone anywhere near the kid, who knows what might have happened to him. That's why I keep you as far away as possible. But the running game, 233 yards rushing. Kendrick Overton throws for 242 through the air, Ed. And the Warriors with the balance, Alonzo Ricks, an early front runner for Coach of the Year at 3-0, as they've got Kings Fork on deck. And you know that defense can make some splash plays, some sacks, some INTs, some big hits led by Manny Azagu, the JMU commit. Certainly want to clean up some of the yardage, as they did bring in the freshman quarterback to the Tigers and Lonnie Andrews, which I told you was something Chris Cotten needed to ponder, and they got going in the second half with him. But the Tigers giving up 42 in this spot. We thought maybe it wasn't the defensive concern, that it was the offense getting going. Now the Warriors' offense, which is looking very good, seems to erupt here and just look unstoppable against Oscar Smith's usually stout defense.
I had a chance to talk with Zoe at length this week about the situation in terms of Oscar Smith's mystique has ruled through the years. You have to play an excellent game against them. You can't turn the ball over, and they wear you down with strength. Well, they're still good, but they're not quite as good as they've been in the past. And some of their better players are youngsters who have the ability, just need the experience. And Phoebus got them. Nanza River I didn't see 42 points. I was kidding with Zoe about, I thought it'd be a defensive struggle. You get just enough points to win. I think I was 21-16, something of that nature. And, oh, by the way, I did let him know you picked against him, and he's got receipts.
He's got receipts.
He's the only coach that has receipts. So if he comes after you, you know why? Because I snitched.
You are a snitcher. That is definitely you.
I'm going to tell you the world. I'm snitching. I'm not hiding nobody. You picked against him. The players were upset.
Picked against him. It was. I just thought. You know what? I'll tell you what it was. This is exactly what it was. Last year, I was pretty convinced Kings Fork would be Oscar Smith, and they didn't. They had a huge yardage edge. I kind of thought it might be a mental block, and Overton coming off the great game, Oscar Smith would just find a way. They tend to do this, but I really thought in terms of player for player in the matchup, they matched up very well. But yeah, I dropped the ball on that one. It wasn't the only one I dropped the ball on, which we'll get to in the Eastern District, a team that I was hyping up for weeks, and they were looking good, and they looked really, really good in getting a win. But, it happens. When you have a cushion like I usually do against you, I came into the week, my gosh, a nice healthy 5 games up, and then I extended it to 6 with Landstown's win over Bayside. I like to make you think you're making a comeback and then just kind of rip your heart out at the very end.
Well, as tradition has shown, I do some crazy picking in the regular season. I get down early, so I got to pick against you if I don't want to try to catch up. But come playoff times, I'm much better at playoffs, and I have beaten you in the playoffs more so in the regular season. So we'll just wait for playoffs down the road. Yes, I did say playoffs down the road.
Okay, well, you keep bragging about all that. Other scores from the Southeastern District. Kings Fork was victorious over Graybridge 48-7. Deep Creek a winner over Grassfield 21-7. Listen to the numbers, Ed, in the first half for Hunter Barnes, the running back for the Hornets. Remember, Deep Creek had those 2 tough losses where their defense couldn't stop, to use an old Mike Smith phrase, water, it felt like, against Currituck and especially against Nansemond River in that big game. Overton had over 400 yards produced and 6 total touchdowns. But Hunter Barnes controlled the clock. 28 rushes for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns for the game. He had 18 carries for 150 yards and 3 TDs at the break. Grassville made a quarterback switch, but that's the type of running that Andre Twine wants over there to get Deep Creek back in the mix in the Southeastern District. They got Indian River coming up next, who was idle. So this is the type of game that, 21-7 over Grassfield, who's kind of, still trying to get things figured out. You say not a big deal, but for Deep Creek, that's the type of game they can kind of turn their season around in a positive way, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think, again, your so-called skilled player, your hands people, Deep Creek has that. I think it's a matter of readjusting their line a little bit this year, getting consistent, being consistent. We're getting ready to go next week, game 3 of the season already, or 4.
Wait.
4.
Wait. Some teams have played game 4. Where's your head at? You're going back.
See, I'm getting ready for basketball season, so it slips out my mind. But this is where football coaches need that consistency. You're not going to get consistency first game or two of the year. You're still putting some pieces together, trying some things out. You get to game 4 or 5. 5's the halfway point in a regular season game. So you pretty much have to have that already there, and then your studs are producing as you expect. Those young kids that you put in a position and hope they come through, right around game 5 and 6 is when they really show. Are they going to be productive the rest of the year, or are they still going to just be a whole year of being a youngster? What's going on with the music? Come on now. You know I got to have my music.
What was that you said? I hit the wrong button.
I figured that. You probably muted me, and we were listening to the jams that you're playing. And we got to get we got to get an intern music director in here to get the right hits.
Well, let's get to one more score from the Southeastern District. We'll pull back up the dance pop, which we love. Western Branch was able to blank Hickory 35-0 in its game. Good job for them running the football with Kyneek Baines, who's had a couple of touchdown runs. He had a couple of big ones early in the season in their game against Menchville. Did Kyneek Baines, and he was a factor in this one. 25-yard touchdown run, 44-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter, 170 yards rushing and 3 TDs. Derek Cook also found Trey Miller, and they got it done 35-0 over Hickory. Pretty ho-hum for the Bruins as they try to get back in the mixture of things in the Southeastern. Kings Fork got that 48-7 win over Great Bridge. So the Bruins have a bye week before they travel to Nansemond River. They're coming off the loss of the Bruins last weekend to Kings Fork. So, again, bye week coming up, then Nansemond, as things in the Southeastern are starting to shake out a little bit. Where are we headed to next, Edward?
Let's go Eastern District.
Eastern District now for the scores around the 7-5-7 and beyond. Well, here's one that I don't think you and I saw coming, Ed, as it was Granby taking down Norview by a commanding count of 46-0. How about the job there by the Comets in this one? I said a few weeks back on the Hats Hits, I thought they could start 4-1 or 5-0 with the schedule. Well, 26-0 lead at the half. They got a safety from Tavon Ricks, bringing down the quarterback in the end zone. Christian Post, the quarterback, who we interviewed with Dravion Tharrington, 11 of 24 for 177 yards and a touchdown, had a 44-yard touchdown run in the second quarter. Shamik Wright with 4 grabs for 103 yards, including a 56-yard touchdown down the sideline. And Dravion Tharrington against his old team in Norview, 17 rushes, 85 yards, and a touchdown, 2 grabs for 28 yards, totaled up to 113 yards from scrimmage. Granby didn't just win. It wasn't an escape like their game was versus Kickinton. It was a dominant effort, much like their opener against Denby. And here they are at 3-0, thinking about 4-0 before Booker T, thinking about 5-0 if they get that when they take on Lakeland, and then Lake Taylor come October. But right now, as things stand, this is a team that has to be taken a little more seriously. I think you underrated them, and they should remember it and hold you accountable.
Yeah, they can. I had Norview winning. You could have almost made me say I could see Granby winning. No way. What, 43-0 you said? No, there's no way they put those kind of points on the board. And I told you there's no way they're going 5-0. Well, it looks like a pretty good opportunity to do that. I don't think they have the horses to knock off of Lake Taylor, which is right now sputtered against some really strong competition. But we got another winnable game coming up, and they've handled their business to this point. And, you feel good about yourself. You get productive. And you've done that 2-3 games in a row, you have to be content with, and you're going to have to game plan against them. They're not going to be an easy win.
No, they're not. And we look at a couple more scores from the Eastern District. Hopewell took apart Churchland, and that's not easy to do with their defense. Churchland had given up just 6 points in the previous 10 quarters combined. Remember, they shut out Kings Fork second half, blanked Smithfield, gave up just 6 to Booker T. It was Hopewell 42-0 over them. How about Highland Springs over Norcom 65-0 as the Springers got revenge against the Greyhounds? But here's the big one, game of the week, if you will, across the 7-5-7-804 landscape. The Maury Commodores go up to Dinwiddie, past Virginia Diner, 460 route. You've been there many a time. Don't go speeding. They'll catch you and give you a ticket.
Too many times. Been on that road too many times.
46-29, the Commodores rally from a halftime deficit for the second time in 3 games. And by the way, one of them wasn't against Highland Springs. They led that one from pretty much the start of that game. Melvin Lowe had the first touchdown in the second half for them. Early on, though, it was Josh Powell getting a touchdown catch from Torrey Newkirk to respond from the Micah Johnson touchdown catch for Dinwiddie. Harry Dalton, the reigning Class 4 state player of the year, who you heard in our preview show we did back in August, was Savon McDowell, the linebacker committed to Coastal Carolina. His touchdown run put Dinwiddie ahead, 14-6. Melvin Lowe scores for Maury on 4th and 2. It's 14-12 after 1 quarter. Touchdown catch LeBron Bond from Newkirk, 19-14. Maury, 15 seconds into the second quarter. Touchdown pick 6 gets called back. It's Dalton finding Zaylen Wiggins, 21-19 at halftime. It looks like it's going to be a track meet, but then Maury's defense really buckled down in the second half. Not much punting. Maury went for it on 4th down a lot in this game. Lowe gets a touchdown run. South Carolina commit Fred J.R. Johnson with a fumble recovery in the end zone for a score. Leon Clark, an 18-yard touchdown run. You heard from him on the Hash with Hatfield on the podcast on Thursday this week at the Plex on our YouTube channel. And then Torrey Newkirk pretty much polished it off with a 24-yard touchdown strike to Josh Powell. 27 unanswered on the road against a state championship team. Maury's looking like a team that's going to win a state championship this year as long as they stay laser-focused, locked in, don't let anything creep in or distract them, and don't let any injuries disrupt their rhythm right now they've got going after beating 3 really good opponents, and they got Lake Taylor coming up.
They played a heck of a schedule, and they dominated their schedule. I don't think over there in the Commodore land, not being focused is a worry. I think that's a given. Very strong schedule. Hats off to the staff over there setting up that schedule and some of those games on the road. I just think Maury they're state bound. I know it's early. Coach wouldn't want to hear me say that. That team is state bound. Now,
you guys want to hear you say that. I think Doree McCain, who we heard from last week, if you read one of his quotes in the paper, he even made the comment about we're going to be there at UVA. So that might be viewed by some as an arrogance, but I think it's a swagger and a confidence that, look, we've lost the last 2 state championships. We're going to get there, and we're not losing this time. And I think his team is playing and oozing with the confidence and a belief that we're not going to be denied. And we don't want to just win the thing. We want to go undefeated and create a legacy, cement a legacy as one of the best teams in the area's history, which I think they're well on their way to doing because the opponents they're about to play, I don't think they stack up with who they've beaten here, and those scores could look a lot more lopsided than what we've seen in recent weeks and kind of mirror what Green Run's done to Beach District opponents.
I definitely can see that. Maury is a different breed right now. They were lucky enough to get some transfers in who were not just okay players. They were very good. They're all district performers, which was pieces they really needed. That made them much more stronger and made their backups even a little bit better now because they could play those kids and take the kids that they thought they would have in that spot, back them up. They're on a different plane right now. Your Highland Springs types. Who's the team? Freedom was the team that scores a lot of points. Yeah. Okay. And of course,
I had a team with DeMatha halted, and they're going to try to replay it at some point, or it could just go down as a no contest. Freedom, which has won, I think, 17, 18 consecutive games in the state.
Yeah. Maury is a different level. And you say, okay, McLean is talking about, now we're going to be good. And we're fighting to be undefeated. A lot of time us coaches sandbag it. I don't have no players, so we're going to be struggling one game at a time. And
you never do that.
Let's win the day. That's coaches speak.
It's not your character or DNA.
No, I don't do that. I just tell it like it is. My problem is I'm too honest. And sometimes people think I'm against my own team, but I'm just brutally honest. And then we get, behind closed doors, we're working our butts off to be as best we can. If you talk big and lose, people point fingers. That's your fault. Put too much pressure on the kids. You braggadocious. If you sandbag it and you look good, then people say, well, coach is having a good year. He didn't think he was going to. Similar to what's happening right now at the college level with Deion Sanders at Colorado. Okay? They're winning games, and they've already surpassed last year's win total. Vegas had them winning at the most 3.5 games this year. And Sanders walks with a confident, a swagger, a braggadocious at times. But remember him as a player, prime time, neon,
Louis
Dion.
Vuitton. Don't forget Louis. Don't forget about Louis.
Yeah, I mean, that's how he was. And he transcends that thought into his teams that, we're out here to win. and he put that Colorado team together. Remember now, he got rid of a ton of guys from the past. Some coaches didn't like that. Well, he took advantage of the rules. The portals are loaded up. He took advantage of it, and he went in there, and everybody's pointing fingers at him. Me personally, I like Deion Sanders. I like that swagger, but I'm not drinking his Kool-Aid right now. Let's play some more games. Let's play some stronger teams. See, they got Colorado State, the in-state rival this week. That's a blowout. That's already a blowout. So what's that? 3-0? 3-0 they're going to be, and everybody's going to keep talking about how great they are. Let's let them go. I mean, look at you. You come in, you try to wear sunglasses. You're in the pool daily. You're sneaking your neighbor's pool. You're too cool in the pool while I'm in school. All of that stuff. You get yours from a lot of people too, because at times you're braggadocious, but sometimes you can say it.
And I got the upbeat happy music in the background too. Got my sunglasses on.
This is why I told my agent I cannot operate under these conditions. I'm going to have to renegotiate a few things. That's why we're not in the same studio right now. I needed a break. It's demoralizing mentally.
Before we hear from a couple of folks from North Cross, which beat Atlantic Shores in a private school matchup, Ed, a couple more scores to pass on from the Peninsula District. Warwick shutting out Menchville. You heard from Corey Hairston last week, 35-0. That defense has not given up a point this year in a 4-0 start. Gloucester beats Denby 33-13. I think that extends the losing streak to Denby at 23. Oh, we're pulling for Tommy Reedman to get that snapped at some point, but too much for the Dukes there in that one. Private school game, Nanford Suffolk Academy 56-7 over Portsmouth Christian. And we mentioned it, North Cross, a 28-7 winner over Atlantic Shores. Would you like to hear from the head coach, Shannon Taylor, in his first year and how they came from a 7-0 halftime deficit to stun the Seahawks at the Plex?
Definitely want to know how he did it and what kind of a squad he has.
All right, let's hear from Coach Shannon Taylor, and then we'll also hear from one of the standout players who I know Ed will love because he's from Germany. It's all coming your way here with 757 Saturday Sports Talk, Hatfield and Young at the Plex. Here's Coach Shannon Taylor. All right, with North Cross head football coach Shannon Taylor after his team's 28-7 comeback win over Atlantic Shores. They were down 7-0 at the break, but Coach, you had to feel pretty good to only be down 7 because they had 3 trips inside the red area. You got some takeaways. You were able to get a stop. They missed a field goal, and then from the third quarter on, you really controlled the football game. What was the talk at halftime with the group about?
Well, we just had to figure out what they were doing offensively. They had some down block schemes that we had to adjust. So we made the halftime adjustment to move our defensive tackles out just a hair, be physical, sit down, not over-penetrate, and then we're able to fall off and make tackles.
Jazeel Hart for your number one, a sophomore, really brilliant talent. He made some huge plays tonight, a couple 40-plus yard receptions, a touchdown catch. He took the top off the defense at times in that third quarter.
Yeah. Well, he's a fast guy. He's an elite athlete. He's got background playing quarterback, plays some running back, and he's actually our third-string quarterback this year right now. But Jazeel's a great athlete. He spends time working on his game all the time. He's receiving interest from NC State, Virginia Tech as a corner. But he's just a sophomore. He's a baby. He's continued to grow.
Got a nice mixture with your running game with Cam Johnson, getting kind of the power threat, and then Jarrell Rhodes with the speed mixture. Did you feel like as the game slowed down the second half, you could kind of run behind your big offensive line, led by the big man and number 71, Moritz Schmoranzer, the pick commit?
Absolutely. Those two guys are really good. Thunder and lightning is what we call them. Cam's a one-cut guy. He run 11.4, 100 meters this past summer for a 205, 210-pound guy. And Jarrell Rose, who's quick as a cat. He's done an awesome job of being our third down back, kind of catching balls out the backfield. He's our kick returner. He's done an amazing job this year.
This is your first year at North Cross as the head coach, correct?
That's the head coach, absolutely.
You've been certainly a part of this rivalry the last couple of years. The last 2 seasons, they won the state championship Division II. In 2021, you got them back last year. What's this kind of battle meaning? Coming into it, did you feel like this was a kind of a game that had a little extra level of intensity and excitement to it?
Familiar opponent, right? So I've been here. This is my 14th season. And we probably played them 8 times since I've been here. And it's always a battle. Wayne Lance is a class act. He's done an amazing job here at Shores, competing and doing some things he's done, winning state championship in his past 3 years. He's done an awesome job. He has really good talent. And he runs a great system. Yeah. And when you have a head coach that's around for a while and you don't shake it up as much, you're able to keep that culture the same.
And scheme-wise, strategy-wise, was it just a matter of not letting them get up-tempo and kind of try to make them, even though it's not easy to do one-dimensional at times offensively?
Well, I think last year in the state championship game, he went up-tempo some. He may have did it just a little bit today, but we were ready for it. we watched last year's state championship game, and he did some of the same stuff. But Wayne is a class act. He runs a great program. He has a great staff. And, we feel real good about our young guys in that back end, and we're doing little things a little different. Some people think it's cover 2. We're not in cover 2. I think we're in 3. We're not in 3. So we're doing some things that are different, and maybe his quarterback didn't recognize, and our guys capitalize on it.
So it sort of give people looks that you can maybe disguise and change up as the game goes along to a degree?
Absolutely. So, Xavier Mitchell made a couple picks tonight. Zill made one coming off the numbers. And so we do a little different things on the back end that really helps us. And it confuses our quarterback in practice. So I know these guys are not seeing it. It'll help us in the long run.
Lastly, you're 3-1. What have you learned about this team here 4 games in, and where do you go from here on your quest to getting back to that championship game come November?
We're resilient. All summer taking our guys to camps. I seen coaches in our division, and they seen our schedule. Going to St. James, opening up with NSA, playing Charlotte Country Day last weekend, and then Shores, and then going to the Benedictine next week. They're like, you guys got a tough schedule, and I'm like, yeah, our guys want it. We hungry. We want it. We'll be better at the end for postseason by playing that typical schedule. And then we still got the likes of Blue Ridge coming up as well. So familiar opponent. So we feel real good about what we're doing. We develop our guys, and, the sky's the limit for the program.
Well, very impressive comeback win on the road for Coach Tiller and the Raiders. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
So that was North Cross head football coach Shannon Taylor, Ed, as they rallied at the Sportsplex from a 7-0 deficit to win it 28-7. You come up empty 3 times in the red zone in the first half, and it'll bite you, as it unfortunately did for Coach Lance and the Seahawks. Now 3-1 in a rematch of the last 2 Division II state championships in VISAA. Atlantic Shores won the title over them in 2021, but North Cross beat them 13-0 last year, and they have the upper hand here to start things off in 2023.
Yeah, and listening to coaches speak there in the game, comeback win there, made the adjustments. Staff made the adjustments. Didn't nothing really big, but it was enough to go ahead and grab the lead, keep the lead, keep them off of them, the opponents off of them, and get back in that state championship game. If you can make adjustments during the game, obviously in any sport, you're in the ball game. If you're just going with a game plan and you don't have the ability to change it, and really a lot of times coaching is not so much the preparation, but what do you do after things come up against you in the game? So it's those adjustments that you have to make. Football is constantly making those adjustments. Basketball, sometimes it's off the seat of your pants because you're going up and down. You don't have offense come in, defense come out, just constantly going. But the big thing about this squad here too, the lineman, if I could find out get his name right, because I don't want to butcher this, from Germany. I don't want to be in a war with some of those people from Germany. Moritz, let me see this say the Schmoranzer.
No, you're close. Not bad.
I think that's a pretty good way to say it. We do know that he's committed to Pitt, and me, I love it when we get a chance to hear from the linemen up front. You always want to talk to quarterbacks and receivers.
Wait till you see the eye black. You're going to think it's a wrestler. It's going to.
Yeah, that's another thing. This guy, the name Moritz, would be a tremendous pro wrestler. I want to see what Moritz got.
Just call him Big Schmo, like we did on the broadcast. Big Schmo.
Give me Big Schmo right now.
All right, here at the big man for the North Cross Raiders. He's a Pittsburgh commit, Moritz Schmoranzer, after his team's comeback win 28-7 over Atlantic Shores. Well, you played these guys last November in the state championship, Mo. You're down at the half, but you guys didn't panic or blink at all. Second half, it was all domination. What adjustments did y'all make to get it done?
I mean, last year we just had a heck of a team. I mean, we had number 1 Ian Can, who had a return touchdown kicking off the second half, and then today we were just first half isn't our best, like every game, but second half, especially the fourth quarter, we get it done. I mean, you could see it up front. We dominated D-line and O-line. The secondary stepped up. We had interceptions. It was just crazy.
When the running backs get close to 100 yards, they break off a long run. It's the lineman. What's that feeling like, whether you pancake the guy in front of you or not, to see them go off knowing that we did our job up front to allow that to happen, to propel that play, if you will?
I mean, I'm just happy that he can get his touchdown, and I'm also kind of happy that I don't have to block anymore. Like in a game like this where I have to start both ways, it's getting hard at some point, but then you're just happy for him. You're very happy for him that he gets his touchdowns, his stats. He can get recruited for that. I'm already committed and all that, but I'm happy for him that he can get all that.
Sure. And a lot of linemen like yourself that are among the best in the state go both ways. Tell me about what the preparation's been like off season in the heat when it's like 95. This had to feel good not to be too hot. I mean, what that's like to kind of have the stamina and endurance to get it done in the fourth quarter.
I mean, I had an injury last year, but over the summer came back. It's a lot. Like the Virginia heat is brutal. It's humid. It was very dry today, which surprised me. But we had summer workouts with our head coach. We had practice 5 or 6 times a week. We were prepared.
Yeah. You mentioned the Virginia heat. Fill the people out there on your background, where you're from, and how you've gotten acclimated to the Commonwealth.
I mean, coming from Germany, I still remember 2 years ago when I stepped out the Roanoke airport, it just seemed like a wall. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy.
You're committed to Pittsburgh. Tell me about what you love about the Panthers and how excited you are to get there with Coach Narduzzi and company.
I'm very excited. I mean, I'm going early in January, so I can go there for spring workouts. For me, I chose Pitt because it's just like the best fit. It's laid back. It's very football concentrated. They're right next to the Steelers, and I think they're doing a very good job at developing linemen. They're getting all these 3 stars, and they develop them into potential NFL material.
Mm-hmm. Last two for your appreciative time, Mo. For you, when you go into a game like this and they have a big guy going to William & Mary's committed 55, Nathaniel McDonald, when you go into a game and you see another highly regarded player, do you ever circle that, or what do you watch more film of that player? How do you get ready for a big game like this or against a key matchup such as that?
I mean, of course, I pay attention to him. I knew him from last year. I know he's a good player, but I studied him, and I kind of saw that he's more of a pass rusher. So I was like, I'm not gonna take any chances on him. He's very fast on the edge. I'm not gonna take any chances on him. I'm not gonna try to pancake him, but I'm giving my best.
And lastly, what are you working on in your own craft and this team collectively? What are you all trying to strive to get to as you want to repeat as state champs before you head off to Pitt?
I mean, of course, we want to go back to back. That would be great. That would be a great finisher for me and the other seniors. I mean, 2 years ago when we lost, it was the exact same field here. I didn't feel bad because we lost the game. I just felt bad for the seniors.
Thank you so much, Mo. All the best, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
So that was Moritz Schmoranzer of the North Cross Raiders, Ed, who certainly got the job done with the ground attack. They were +3 in the turnover margin against Atlantic Shores with 4 takeaways, and they also outran them 124-67. That's the recipe for success, as you heard him discuss why he picked the Pitt Panthers. And I know you being a Pennsylvania native, he's a German native. You have to love the big man going up there to Coach Narduzzi and the Panthers, who have gotten themselves quite a few players from the Commonwealth of Virginia, public school and private school. We saw the run of 757 guys a few years back with Miles Alston, who's since transferred to Old Dominion from Ocean Lakes High School. Malik Newton went up there. Rodney Hammond went up there from Booker T. Washington. And Pitt right now, excited to get him as they're got a big matchup, their backyard brawl with West Virginia on tap today.
He's going to do all right in Pittsburgh. Great city Pittsburgh is. And I love the kid with the black mascara all over, face paint for guys, but it's all over. I was hoping you would ask him a question of what was up with the face paint as to what he was going to do with it. We know it's always in for glare or whatever, but I think mostly in football it's in for show. This kid now plays defense and offense, correct?
Correct.
So he pretty much, other than maybe special teams, unless he plays that too, doesn't come off the field. Great energy, very well spoken, very knowledgeable about the game, even though he's a German lad where football is not common over there. Remember, football in most of the other countries is soccer. So that kid's going to bulk up. You hear he's going to leave in January. He's going to bulk up. And I'm interested to hear from him for years to come. I think he's going to do some nice work with Pitt.
One more district to touch on before we go to break and bring on Stan Cotten, the play-by-play voice of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. That's the Bay Rivers district where Smithfield was a winner 37-7 over Jamestown. So good win there for Coach Tracy Parker. And we knew that one of the streaks had to end in that matchup with Smithfield and Jamestown because Smithfield had dropped coming into this game. It looked like they had lost their last 9 games. And in the case of the Jamestown Eagles, they had lost 12 straight, so it's now 13 consecutive in that series. Meanwhile, Bruton a winner over Northumberland, 43-41. That was a light show as far as offense back and forth, lighting up the scoreboard left and right in that matchup. You had Warhill over Poquoson, 57-7. Result not as surprising as the margin, as the Lions did the Warhill walk on Poquoson. And Tab, in the great rivalry we had on Coach John Byron on the Hash with Hatfield on the podcast. That's 2-0 back-to-back weeks. The coach that comes on the podcast with me wins. Again, Lamort Smith took an L because of you. It was.
Hold on. We were both on that interview, so I don't know how it was me.
It was you. You were the bad juju for that. So, anyhow, Tab with John Byron, 42-0 over your man Blue Smoke, Doug Pereira, and the York Falcons. Great rivalry matchup, but how about the job by Logan Kuntz? He's another Chicho's Player of the Week candidate, potential selection, because he had 2 interceptions. One was a 38-yard pick six. Also had a touchdown catch at 34 yards, 12 solo tackles, 2 sacks. I think he sold popcorn at halftime, too. He did it all for Tab, who's now 3-0 on the year.
Yeah, shades of what was it? Kirby. Terry
He
Kirby.
was there. He did the coin toss. And by the way, they did a nice thing. They did a nice thing that we talked about with Coach Byron. If you watched On the Hash with Hatfield, which apparently you did not, as I can see, you didn't touch on it.
I'm going to watch it when I've got things to do. I got things. People relying on me.
Put it on in the background.
Sit down and watch it.
Put it on the background. You're supposed to give you a hype for your.
No. If I'm going to watch you in action and what you're doing, I want to give you 100% attention, because when I critique you, I want to make sure that I've heard correctly. So I will get to it eventually. Just keep doing your job.
Well, they did a good job honoring the military before, and a lot of great things they did over there. So hats off to both Coach Byron and Coach Pereira with that. So go check out that podcast. That interview is archived if you want to go back and watch it, all you Tab fans out there, as I like what they're doing over there. Defense playing very well. And they got the running game to boot, too, because they've sprinkled in a little bit of passing here to go with the ground attack, augmenting it. But I'll tell you what, nice job for Cameron Dixon, a touchdown run this one, and Lance Coots, Lance Coots looking like a Player of the Week possibility over there at Tab High School.
Hey, go ahead. I got interrupted to give a shout out and congrats to my former office mate at Nansemond River, Tracy Parker, getting a win over there at Smithfield.
Boy, he has to be so glad he's away from you now, over there in Packer Country, Ham Country, with our buddy Keith, who we got to have come on the podcast.
Yeah, we got to find
also Pat Dillon, the AD over there.
Yeah, we got to put APBs out for Keith so he knows where we're at. And once we get our call-in established, we got to do somehow to finagle where he's the first caller.
Well, we can actually, in fact, maybe have them both on the screen at the same time. But coming up next, we're going to hear from Wake Forest play-by-play voice Stan Cotten, as we'll get you a nice little snapshot preview of today's game at SB Ballard Stadium, Cornblow Field. The Monarchs of Old Dominion, 1-1, hosting the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest at 2-0. And there's a lot of Virginia flavor from Wake's roster that we'll dive into with Stan Cotten coming up next. But we'll hear from a couple of our sponsors, which will include the likes of Freddy's and Gatorade.
Man, I wish I was out there.
Let's unretire.
Why not? Randy Moss.
Dan Marino? You all right?
Hey, Grandpa!
Grandpa?
I still got it. 22. Career game number 13.
Let's see.
Hey. I need that senior discount.
That's the game.
Mr. Marino, you mind if I take a selfie? Thank you.
I'm good right here, bro.
Unretirement? Who'd be dumb enough to do that?
Okay, who here has reached peak fall? Peak what?
Peak fall.
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back.
I just love fall. Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it! Peak fall achieved. DQ, happy tastes good.
Every year, thousands of athletes disappear in clutch moments due to falling hydration levels.
I used to go missing all the time. I let everyone down. I even let Shannon Sharp down.
Yeah, you let me down.
They've been told how you feel yourself doesn't matter, that electrolytes are all the same. Then just like that, they're gone. Get yourself back in the game. Get yourself a Gatorade. Could be the difference between dominating and disappearing. Gatorade, rehydrate, replenish, refuel.
Rhodes has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here is Matt Hatfield.
And we welcome you back to 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Hatfield and Young at the PLEX. And we're so pleased to be joined by a special guest as it's a big matchup in Norfolk on this Saturday with the Old Dominion Monarchs playing host to the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Wake Forest coming in at 2-0 overall off their victories over the likes of Elon and Vanderbilt. The Monarchs split in their first two games as they lost up at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg to the Hokies, but responded with a big win over Louisiana last week in their home opener. And we're so glad to be joined by the longtime voice of the Demon Deacons with the Wake Forest Sports Network, Stan Cotten, with us. Stan, thank you for stopping by. I understand we were talking before we went on the air here. First time in your 40-plus years of a decorated broadcasting career that you're making the trip to the 757 in Norfolk, Virginia. How about that?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I started this when I was 19 years old, 44 years ago. You guys can do the math. But, heard so many things about, the Norfolk area, Tidewater, and all the great athletes from that part of the country. And certainly that's true, but I've never been there. So I'm looking forward to being in Norfolk for the game and know the Monarchs are certainly well respected by Dave Clawson. You don't have to talk very long with Dave about, Coach Ronnie and what they're trying to do up there at Old Dominion. That they have his attention. I can promise you that. So I think it'll be a fun game. I'm looking forward to being at the stadium and again being there in Norfolk for the very first time.
I want to go there with you, Stan, because we'll get to Dave Clawson and all the elements, the matchups, the games within the game, if you will. 12 players from the Commonwealth of Virginia on this roster for Wake Forest, and some significant names on the offensive side of the ball, beginning with the quarterback in Mitch Griffiths from Broad Run High School in Ashburn. You got the running back in Damon Claiborne, who was a record setter at King William High School, coming off a big game against Vandy out of the SEC. The wide receiver Taylor Morin, who was a state champion at Westfield High School in Northern Virginia. And Old Dominion's got some North Carolina flavor on its roster. I think about 8 or 9 players there. So, I mean, in terms of recruiting ramifications, this game has some meaning to both coaching staffs as far as trying to invade Virginia for Wake Forest and for the Monarchs trying to get some of that North Carolina talent, if you will.
Yeah, there are a lot of, certainly as you mentioned, Wake players from talent-rich Virginia. I mean, that's not lost on Wake. And, who knows, probably back in the day and Wake's always recruited Virginia pretty well. I think this is probably one of the reasons why, Wake is in the Commonwealth playing this game. And I know that the Monarchs have, a couple of ACC transfers. So, just a lot of cross connections that always make kind of the backstories to some of these games interesting. And no question, this is certainly one that has several. And we had Damon Claiborne from King William High School there, not too far, I guess, out of the Norfolk area. But we had him on Coach Clawson's radio show on Thursday night, and he said he's going to have a lot of family and friends at the ball game, as you could imagine. And he really is one of those players who was just kind of burst onto the scene here. He when he got here, Wake Forest knew that they had a good one. He's got a track background as well. He can really, really run. And he's averaging well over 100 yards a game in the first 2 ball games this season. So he, I guess, will lead the Virginia-based charge of Demon Deacon players this weekend.
You know, it's funny covering the high school sports and recruiting like I do with VirginiaPreps.com, part of the Rivals.com network powered by Yahoo Sports. I was telling one of our Rivals analysts as he was going into his senior year, this kid's really good, and his tape circulated to Claiborne, and he just kind of blew up. And Coach Clausen got a steal there with Claiborne, and he's gotten a lot of them going back to his days before he got to Wake Forest when he was coaching in Richmond. It is his 10th year. And you know, Stan, I look at Wake Forest, and they're not getting the talk of the town as far as college football in the ACC. We know about Florida State being viewed, and rightfully so, as a national title contender, especially after its big win to open the season over LSU. You got North Carolina with some buzz after beating South Carolina. Duke with that shocking win of Clemson. What's wrong with the Tigers and Dabo Swinney's team? But I look at Wake Forest, and I see 7 consecutive bowl games, very consistent. They're 15-2 against non-ACC teams the last 5 seasons, and they're top 10 in the country in terms of FBS in wins since 2021. How do they get it done, and how do they do it in such a humble, quiet way where they just go about their business and don't get a lot of fanfare about it?
I think that's just life at Wake Forest. I remember way back in 2006, Wake was picked to finish last in the ACC. What'd they do? They won the whole thing and went to the Orange Bowl. So it's not just 2023. This has been going on a long time at Wake Forest. Here's a bar bet you can beat everybody with. Who's got the second longest running bowl streak in the ACC to Clemson? It's Wake Forest. The Deacs have been to 7 consecutive bowl games. Nobody in the league has done that outside of Clemson. And it's just, one of those deals where year in and year out, and I give complete credit to Dave Clausen. Year in and year out, the Deacs just get it done. They find a way to make the post season. They don't get a lot of 4- and 5-star recruits. They get more 2s and 3s, and hopefully most of those kids they can keep here 4 or 5. Well, with COVID, 6, 7 years, whatever it takes, and develop those players into really, really good players by the time they're a redshirt junior or a 5th-year senior. So again, going back to your point, Wake tends to more times than not fly under the radar, and that I think most programs would like to be that way. It certainly has worked for Wake in that they win more games than they lose every single year. And I think again back to Coach Clausen, he's the right coach, right time, right place to get the job done. It's it's a little different here at Wake Forest to put it all together. I mean, you got to find a guy that number one can get in school at Wake Forest. Then you have to find a player who can stay in school, and on top of that, you have to find a player that can compete with Clemson and Florida State and all the rest in this league. So Coach Clausen's found a way to do that. And again, I just think he's the perfect head coach for this current football team.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you bring up going back to the Jim Grove days of Wake Forest when they were very good and they weren't expected to do a whole lot, and they surprised a lot of people with that Orange Bowl trip. It's just, I find a lot of parallels being here from the Commonwealth to Wake Forest. They're obviously on a larger scale, Power 5 ACC, to like a James Madison, who's made that transition recently, a Sun Belt rival of Old Dominion's from FCS to FBS when they won a national championship under Mickey Matthews. And then they had Mike Houston win them a title, Kurt Signetti. They've remained relevant and be able to compete on a big scale. I think a lot of that goes to the athletic departments and obviously really good coaches and finding the coaches after you lose a really good coach. They've done that there at Wake Forest. Before we turn our attention to the Monarchs and what they pose in terms of the threat to the Demon Deacons in this matchup, explain for the audience, those that aren't as well versed in Wake Forest, watching them, which you see all the time, about this pace and space offense, because they're one of just 9 teams in the last 2 years to have 1,000+ points. They're on a list with Ohio State and Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, some pretty prominent programs. Just kind of take us through the offense and how different it is from other teams out there that Old Dominion hasn't seen before.
Well, the Deacons certainly score a lot of points. They've scored more in the last 5-6 years than anybody in the league. And that's almost 40, about 30, 38 and a half, something like that. And it's funny because prior to this year, everybody called it the slow mesh. And Wake Forest did do that. Some, not all the time, sometimes. I don't know what the percentages are, but it's not, 80% of the time they run that. They do a lot of different things. They're a multiple team in a lot of ways. A lot of the decisions that the quarterback makes come after the snap of the football. And so you have to have a guy like Mitch Griffiths, Sam Hartman before him, who's at Notre Dame right now. You have to have a very heady quarterback. And Mitch Griffiths, as you mentioned, from Virginia, is one of those types of kids. His father was his high school football coach. And so he's grown up around, what does it take to be a really good football player? He knows all about film study and all the different things that his dad taught him in high school. It wasn't like he gets to Wake Forest and all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, this is what you have to do to be a successful college player. No, he learned a lot of those habits, really good habits, before he got to Wake. But there is this odd kind of slow mesh that Wake does use some of the time, and it's very unique. And it's been difficult for us over the seasons to call it on the radio, because the quarterback rides that back into the line of scrimmage and waits so long before he either hands it off, pulls it out, keeps it himself, throws the ball. And all these decisions, again, are coming post-snap. So it's a unique style of offense. It certainly has worked for Dave Clawson. Everywhere he's been, the offense that he's installed has taken about 2 to 3 years to kind of catch on. And then, if you look at where Dave Clawson was, all of his stops before coming to Wake, and he was very successful everywhere, it was that third year. And it was the same way in Winston-Salem when Wake Forest began to take off. Warren Ruggiero has been the offensive coordinator every day since Dave Clawson has been in Winston-Salem. So, but again, just a really stocked receiver room, probably 8 deep on the offensive line. They've gotten a couple of kids nicked up there, but they're so deep that they've got some guys that they can move around, mix and match a little bit. We found out last week the running back room is deep. Had to go down to the third team, and all Tate Carney did last week was rush for 117 yards and a touchdown, and Claiborne ran for 165. So, it's a football team that's deeper in talent than people give it credit for. Dave Clawson and his staff have really done a nice job over the last 3 to 5 years in recruiting. They've made some strides on the defensive side of the ball. Brad Lambert is in his second year at defensive coordinator. Brad was with Mickey Matthews, so was I, by the way, at Marshall 1,000 years ago with Jim Donnan when the Thundering Herd was winning national championships at the 1AA level. But Brad's doing a great job here. Wake is a faster defense than it has been a couple of years ago, or since he got here 2 years ago. Really good linebackers, really good at the safety spot, defensive back. Not quite as deep on the defensive front as they have been over the last couple of years, but certainly the players they have there, they really, really like. If they can keep them healthy, they'll be fine. And really one of the kind of unsung areas of a lot of teams, but for Wake, I think the first 2 games has been special teams. They've done really, really nice things. They scored on a scoop and score last week with a fumble recovery on a fumble punt. I think they've missed just 1 field goal. Punt has been good. Coverage teams have been really good. So just first 2 tests that Wake has had, all 3 phases of the game, they've looked pretty good, and Coach Clawson's pretty happy with those first 2 weeks. Now you get on the road, you get in front of a hostile crowd, things tend to change a little bit. We'll see what happens this week.
Yeah, and this can be a dangerous spot, as one of the ACC counterparts of Wake Forest found out last year with Virginia Tech when they came to Norfolk, dropped their second matchup to the Monarchs in about 4 or 5 years at Old Dominion. So you get this lower end tier FBS program that made a transition from FCS several years back. You mentioned the great respect that Coach Clawson and the staff have for Ricky Ronnie, who's got an Ivy League background, was at Penn State as an assistant. Very interesting. It's a different team than they saw a couple years ago, as is Wake Forest back on September 3rd, 2021, when the Demon Deacons prevailed 42-10 at home. Only outgained the Monarchs 352-272 in that game. And coming into the year, Stan, a lot of mystery, a lot of unknowns for Old Dominion because they have 58 newcomers, 7th most of any FBS program, and 7 seniors, just the second fewest to New Mexico. Now 2 games in the books, a little bit more known about them with that up-tempo offense, with Kevin Decker calling it for Grant Wilson, the new quarterback who thrived against Louisiana. What's kind of the feel for the Demon Deacons, and how important is it to generate takeaways, which they've done here in a couple of games, to get the Monarchs off the field and dodge that early upset bid, if you will?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Wake adjusts to now. Wake plays fast offensively, or it can. It likes to kind of set up and have the ability to work through plays quickly. And they've been working all week on the speed of the Monarch offense, and that'll the first couple of series. Be interested to look and see how Brad Lambert's defense adjusts, gets lined up. I mean, you got to get lined up against the Monarchs, or they're gonna big play you if you don't. So we'll see how that goes. They've worked awful hard on it this week. I was at practice on Thursday morning and purposely stayed with the defense, and that's what they were doing. Just working on getting lined up as quickly as they could. But yeah, the respect certainly goes to Coach Ronnie and the new system they put in there offensively. And I was talking Thursday night to Coach Clausen about the offense. Did it mirror what Coach Ronnie did when he was a great quarterback himself? He said no, and he's changed it from what he did at Penn State. So you have to give credit to him for changing, for having the vision to do that and mesh that with the players that he's got, or match those two things together, system and players. So we'll see how it shakes out. That's the fun part of these games, right? You never know what you're going to see until you get two teams together and their systems mesh and all the X's and O's start getting bounced around all over the table. So that's why I love doing what I do, because you just what are we going to see today? That's kind of the deal that we approach it with every single Saturday. So, again, anxious to see these two line up and see how it shakes out.
Absolutely. A couple more here for Stan Cotten, the fine play-by-play voice for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, part of the Wake Forest Sports Network from Learfield. Follow him on X, once known as Twitter, at Stan Cotten WF here. And we appreciate you coming on here with us on the podcast. But before we let you run here, I got two more to finish up with you, Stan. And as you look at the Monarchs as far as having a chance to pull off the upset, or the Demon Deacons to pull away from this game and not make it tight as a couple of touchdown favorite here, what's the matchup that you think can be the most significant in terms of advantage or disadvantage? Is it how the Demon Deacons contain Grant Wilson or can maybe disrupt the offense? Is it maybe Old Dominion's defense with a tackling machine and Jason Henderson at linebacker taking away perhaps the running element to make the Demon Deacons one-dimensional bit, pin their ears back? What's kind of the couple of matchups? You mentioned special teams being possibly an X factor here, as the Demon Deacons have done well there, that could swing this game and make it either lopsided or very close and upset potential in your eyes.
Yeah, turnovers in any game are huge, and Wake's done a nice job of taking the ball away and protecting it when they've got it. And I think if they can, maintain that kind of focus, they'll be fine. I think Wake's defense has to get ODU off the field. And again, that we'll see how those first two drives, if Wake's able to get lined up and get ready, I think they'll be fine. And Wake did a great job last week against Vanderbilt on fourth down, including a huge goal line stand that really injected some life into all phases of the game. But again, if Wake turns it over 2-3 times, and that's not Wake, but if that happens, certainly on the road, that's not going to be a good indicator. But if Wake can take it away like it has been doing, that certainly is a good indicator. And special teams, again, I just and I know that over the last few years anyway, Old Dominion's blocked a lot of kicks. I don't think they have this year any, but last year they were incredible. And Vanderbilt got close a couple times last week to blocking a punt. But so all those, it's not that different every week, Matt, really. If you turn it over a lot, you're probably not going to lose, or probably not going to win. If you protect the ball, play good special teams, by and large, you got a really good chance to win it. If Wake can be balanced, that's what they want to be. Last week they ran the ball more than they've thrown it, and they've just been a passing machine the last few years. But if they can establish a running game and open up that pass game a little bit, be balanced, Wake will be fine. And but I know Old Dominion certainly doesn't fear Wake Forest, and you just have to look at what they've done the last 2-3 years against ACC teams to know that. So again, I think there's a lot of respect between the coaching staffs, and I can promise you, being at practice this week, Wake respects Old Dominion, and going on the road to Norfolk to play is not an easy task. And Wake's got their full attentions on this game. And so I think they'll play well because of that. I expect ODU to play well. I expect it to be a good game. I really, really do.
Absolutely. They don't want to get caught looking ahead of the Georgia Tech matchup. Then they get the bye week in Clemson to turn the calendar from September to October. And get you out on this then. Your sense of the ACC early on here. We sort of touched on it about Florida State. Looks like that national championship level contender. Clemson had that one blemish. Duke's a surprise. UNC's ranked. What's your feel? Is there a team lurking out there? And the Deacs could certainly be one of those sleepers. We've seen teams like Wake, like Pittsburgh a couple of times that have come out of nowhere to go play in the ACC championship game, not getting a lot of the national buzz and notoriety, if you will. What's kind of your early sense of the ACC as we get to it before the conference games begin, if you will?
Well, Florida State's got my eye. I mean, the Seminoles look like, some of the old Bobby Bowden teams, and that's not good for the rest of the teams in the league. Wake's had really good success over the Seminoles the last few years under Coach Clawson. Clemson hasn't looked exactly, like you expect the Tigers to look, but any team that's got to change at quarterback, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 weeks to get some things ironed out. Matt, I think it's just kind of early. As you mentioned, though, Duke looked really, really good, focused at home under Mike Elko, who was a Dave Clawson assistant before he left and went to Notre Dame and A&M. But I think Coach Elko will have Duke looking that way pretty much every week. I mean, they're a team that you can't mess with now that he's there, and Wake, we'll see how the Deacs develop. But if Wake can run the ball like it did last week, Wake's schedule is tough. It is in the league, but again, Wake has found a way over the last few years. But I think right now, most people, and it's not a stretch to look at Florida State as the team that most folks will be chasing here in 6-7 weeks. So we'll let the season play out. Wake's first ACC game is next week against Georgia Tech. I can promise you Wake's concerned about the Monarchs, and that's it. That's kind of the marching orders that the Deacs have. Their deal is let's try to get 1-0 this week and move on to the next one. It's cliche. Yes, but I think that mentality has certainly served Wake well over the last 9-10 years under Dave Clawson. So the ACC will be an interesting league. But I think it's better when Florida State is good, and Florida State looks really good.
A lot of games that you have to worry about, but first and foremost is Old Dominion coming up for the Deacs on this Saturday. And then you've certainly got some in-state rivals like Duke on the road. NC State, Clemson's a biggie. They go to Blacksburg in October. Pitt comes to town, and I know Wake Forest fans are circling that November 18th trip to South Bend to go see old friend Sam Hartman and the Fighting Irish as well. Well, Stan Cotten, always a pleasure. Make sure you follow him on X or Twitter, as many of you still call it, at Stan Cotten WF, and listen to him on the Wake Forest Sports Network from Learfield Audio. Enjoy the game, your time in Norfolk. Welcome to the 757. Look forward to catching up with you again soon. And I know it's going to be a fun football year for you and the Deacs, as well as your Dallas Cowboys. And I see the background there of the Cowboys, a nice 40-0 shellacking of the Giants. So it could be a fun ride into the playoffs this year, and maybe a trip to the Super Bowl if they play like they did on Sunday night against Big Blue.
I don't know about that. Sunday night was a good start for the Cowboys, but I go way back to the Tom Landry days in the 1960s. So I've been a Cowboy fan for a long time. We'll see. A good start for them, and looking forward to the trip to Norfolk. Hope to get some good seafood Friday night and see a bunch of good athletes running around on the field on Saturday come noontime.
There you go. If you ever need some restaurant tips, hit me up. We'll definitely take care of you. Stan Cotten with Wake Forest, the play-by-play voice. Thank you. Always a pleasure, and we'll talk to you again soon.
You bet, Matt. Thanks for the invite. See you soon.
You got it. That's 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Our special guest this week, the Wake Forest play-by-play man, Stan Cotten. We'll take a timeout and come back with more. Take your questions on our mailbag, and you'll hear from some of our sponsors next right here on Hatfield and Young at the Plex. It's 757 Saturday Sports Talk.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
And now back to Matthew Hatfield and that evil basketball coach. Blast you, Ed Young!
And he's still running around. It is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Hatfield and Young at the Plex. Even though someone is not there, you see who is there. But we'll keep the shades off until Dion decides to put them back on. Colorado State's a big, hefty favorite on this Saturday night. Edward, are you with the Buffaloes laying the 23.5, or you want to say that for your NFL picks, even though we won't be picking college games?
Colorado definitely wins. It'll be the weakest opponent to this point, and almost 4 touchdown favorite. I'm gonna drink the Kool-Aid. I'm gonna say they'll do it.
You're gonna drink the Kool-Aid. You always drink Kool-Aid.
Whatever Dion's selling, I'm buying.
All right. Well, we've got time now for Hats Hits before we finish up with our NFL picks on this Saturday. Are you ready?
Hats Hits.
Here we go. The 5 takeaways from Friday Night High School football to get Ed's instant reaction to those. All right, here it is. Number 1 on the screen. You want to go ahead and read this, or you want me to take this?
You wrote it. You read it. I'll react.
All right. Number 1, Battlefield has now won 26 straight regular season games after blanking Woodbridge 56 to donut. That means they get donuts. Behind sophomore QB Callum O'Shea's masterful night, 307 yards produced, 6 touchdowns total. He's running it. He's passing it. He's getting it done. He's doing the jitterbug. He's zigging and zagging. It's their 10th shutout in that streak, by the way. And the offense is humming. It's humming, hum, at 53.3 points per game so far this year. Look out, 6B. I don't care about Freedom being defending state champs, letting Freedom ring in 6B and Colonial forge off to a nice start. They 3-0, 4-0, something like that under John Brown. Battlefield Bobcats. You know why they're dangerous, Ed? Because they're led by a Hatfield, Gregory Hatfield. Not my cousin, but he can be if he keeps winning.
Yeah, you threw me on that one. You better look back. He might have been at the family reunion with you. I think that you all related somewhere.
Are you buying Battlefield?
Yeah. I mean, when I saw the 53 points, I'm like, okay. 57. Let me pause. Is this basketball or football we're talking about? 26 in a row, 10 shutouts of the 26 wins, domination. Domination. Do I dare say Battlefield will be in the playoffs? It's just a matter of who they're going to play. That's a heck of a region up there.
Can they win the state championship? And by the way, as we now flash back on the screen, the top 10s from let's put that up on the screen on the banner here. From Class 6 to Class 1 from this past week. Freedom was 1, Highland Springs 2, Madison 3, Thomasdale 4, Manchester 5, South County 6, and they handled Fairfax. Battlefield was 7, Fairfax was 8, so Fairfax is going to drop. South County is going to move up. Battlefield's going to move up. Oscar Smith lost. Colonial Forge 10. You got a problem with that top 10 in Class 6? Anything you want to change? I mean, obviously you want to change Fairfax and Oscar Smith losing, so dropping them low and maybe
they're going to go lower. Can we move Battlefield up?
Yeah, we can do that. I think so, potentially. But the problem is those teams in front of them all won. So who do you drop out?
Yeah, you can't really. When you win, it's hard to drop the team in the pool when they win. Yeah. Even though the team behind them might have a major win or bigger win, you don't drop until you lose. So you're going to have to kind of leave them there. But I kind of feel Battlefield should move up a little bit. Do I dare say Battlefield is better than Manchester?
You can dare say it. Manchester had a little bit of a struggle with Midlothian, so that's a good call by you. Good call there by you. That's a good call,
That's
Eddie.
the one I was looking at.
Good call.
That's the one to look at. Just call me 18.
By the way, 6 and 7 in Class 3. Lake Taylor and Brookville both lost. Brookville falling to Rustburg. You got Kettle Run, Christiansburg, and Brentsville running out that Class 3 top 10. We're going to get to a team in Class 2 at the top in a second. But let's get to number 2. You ready for number 2 on the Hats Hits?
Yeah, let's see what Hat's got to say.
Number 2 on the Hits tour. Time to pay attention to Nansemond River in Class 5 after a 42-28 triumph over Oscar Smith, marking their first victory of the Tigers since 2002. That's 21 years ago, back when Ed was not at Nansemond River and his hair wasn't getting a little gray. I know it's not gray yet, folks. He's keeping it black. It's not gray. Now, Kendrick Overton, quarterback, dual threat, reigning Chicho's Pizza Player of the Week. Manny Azago, the JMU pledge, and company. They're all balling. Big Suffolk showdown with Kings Fork on deck. Who you going, Warriors, Bulldogs? As if I need to ask this question, for crying out loud. I mean,
come on. I'm going. Are you kidding me?
Response. We're going to get a biased response. Go ahead.
I'm going with the Warriors over the Bull Puppies. I'm not going with
Did you call them Bull Puppies?
That's the Bull Puppies against my Warriors next week.
Don't rattle the cage and get them fired up now.
No, they're not.
And his staff, which includes former head coaches like Marty Asprey from Grassfield and Pete Gale from Great Bridge, they're going to remember this, and they're going to tell me if I go cover the game. Yeah, go tell your buddy Ed Young, stick a pipe in. And by the way, speaking of people telling you to say something, I forgot to mention earlier in the show. This reminds me now. I'm so glad I just thought of it. Troy Walton, principal at Bayside. You remember him? Used to be the basketball coach many moons ago.
Yes.
He said, hey, go give Ed Young a hard time for picking us to win. And he said it hurt us. So he's blaming you for the jinx. Nice job by you.
I pick you to win, I get cussed out. I pick you to lose.
He's a nice guy. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that.
I use the wrong word because I get blamed for picking them to win and they lose. So I can't win it. That's why I can't worry. And I like Troy. I like Troy a lot. I thought he was a tremendous coach when he was coach. I thought he got out of it a little too early. But that's why I don't really worry. And I tell people, if you're worried about me picking football games, he was being tongue-in-cheek. He actually was not that serious. He just give you a hard time. Yeah, I get that. I understand that.
I enjoy doing so.
But yeah, Nansemond River in terms of your Hats hit. Okay, they knock off Oscar Smith, so all of a sudden now that'll be the talk for a while. They have the weekend to enjoy it somewhat, even though the coaches will be getting ready for Kings Fork on film on Sunday. That next game becomes like bigger than Oscar Smith because it's a battle of Suffolk. Both are undefeated. And if I'm mistaken, Kings Fork lost to Nansemond last week. They're getting last year, getting them at home. So it's going to build. And I dare say, we talked about this before the show, this could be the biggest Suffolk game between two Suffolk schools football-wise in a long time. And Kings Fork is good. I'll give them that. They're very good. And the key now for Nansemond River is, okay, you not only got the monkey off your back, you threw it down the road. You beat Oscar Smith first time in 20-some years. It was right before I came to Nansemond. But now you don't have a whole lot of time to enjoy it because you got to get ready for what now becomes your biggest game of the year. That's behind you now, and it's Kings Fork.
I'm looking forward to that gridiron battle. It could evoke memories of those days back when you had Andre Jones and Nick Wright and Quentin McDuffie and Mark Brown to go up against
we had some
and Jay Copeland and Devontae Gardner on the hardwood. Those were some fun games.
Do I dare think that the Hat makes an appearance in Suffolk?
I'll be there
next weekend.
I should be there. I think I'll be there.
That's going to be amazing. We're going to be graced by his presence, the Hat.
That's right. Number 3 on the Hats hits. Here we go. The Narrows Green Wave have sure had some heart-stopping, and don't correct my grammar, have sure had some heart-stopping finishes, winning 31-30 over the Holston Cavaliers on a late touchdown and a 2-point conversion, plus beating rival Giles essentially the same way, 29-28 to move to 4-0. Collier Pruitt's a 2-sport stud. They got McLaughlin. They got Levi Smith. They got all kinds of weapons over there. The Narrows Green Wave, they are legit, Ed. 4-0. They got the clutch gene. I'm telling you, watch out for them. They're pretty doggone good. And they're in the Class 1 rankings, which we go back to them real quickly here from what we were flashing on the ticker a little while ago. the Class 1 top 10 rankings as we see them now. And Ed's going to say, here we go. He's going to critique this. Honeacres 1, Grayson County. By the way, a big win over Rye Cove last week, 40-32. Grayson County 2, Essex 3, Patrick Henry, Glade Spring 4, Narrows, Sussex Central, Rye Cove, Northumberland, Galax, and those Holston Cavaliers they squeaked by. What do you think? Can Narrows make a magical run? Can they keep getting this little magic? Or will the magic run out on them? Here we go.
Now, I'm going to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt. They won some squeakers. 4-0. A couple of those wins were very tight. They had to do to keep the win. So they're showing that they can win the close ones. And that's important if you're planning on making a playoff run, because normally in playoff games, they're closer in terms of talent. And maybe the first opening round may not be based on matchups. But after that, they're fairly close. And they're doing that now. So it won't be something new to them in terms of a close ball game. It's already proven they can do it. As far as the standing goes, I look at teams like Essex and Sussex Central.
By the way, Glade Spring lost to Grundy 27-25, so bump them up to number 4 next week, you say, for Narrows?
Yeah, you're going to have to. But I'd like to see Sussex Central back in the day, a powerhouse football team. I'd like to see them move up. But then again, you're going to ask, okay, well, who moves down? And all those teams winning up there, it's hard to move anybody down.
Well, I like how your brain's working for a change, because I had Sussex number 3 preseason behind Grayson and Honeacre to start. They lost to Essex, had a couple of key guys out, some injuries, some kids not on the team yet. So there's some things they got to get ironed out as far as the season goes. But Essex has kind of been that hurdle, that team that's the thorn in their side. Sometimes you have that block that's in your way. And if they get past that, they certainly can go a long way. So there you have it. Are you ready for numero 4? That's 4.
Bring it.
4. And thumping reigning Region 2A champ Poquoson 57-7. The War Hill Lions did that War Hill walk, and they made a pretty loud statement to me with playmakers like Liam Francisque, Jaden McAdoo, Taylor Edie. I think a couple of those guys, one of those guys I think is going to Delaware State, and Francisque and Edie's going to North Dakota State. You say, what? He got some roots out in North Dakota, that's why. And others. This team looks equipped to have perhaps their best season in school history. And Ed, I dare say, and this is pretty bold, nothing against Andy Lynn at Lafayette. The Rams just rumbled all over them last year. They might be the best team in the Bay Rivers, and we could be talking about War Hill playing Phoebus for the Region 4A championship come Turkey Day weekend in November. Now, I think we have an idea how that might go with Phoebus's defense being off back-to-back state titles. But look, War Hill's got double-digit wins written all over them. They're going to be they're gaining some steam here, and I think the way they're playing, this is no fluke. They look pretty legit right now. Not a paper tiger.
Yeah, they're establishing themselves as a powerhouse, putting points on the board. I'm pretty sure I had them beating Poquoson. No way that score. In fact, I think I was thinking back in the day, the old Bay River shootouts, like 32-31 type games, come from behind. But that was not that at all. So War Hill has quietly or loudly established himself as a playoff potential team. Now, I don't even want to talk about them going into playoffs for Phoebus, because you're going into different rarefied air when you're playing Phoebus, period. But they're doing a number on the teams in the Bay River. So it'll be interesting. Now, when is their battle with Lafayette?
I knew you were going to ask that question, and I have an answer for you. They played the Lafayette Rams. Last year was at the end of November, regular season finale. It caused me to miss that Nansemond over Kings Fork showdown last season that I was so looking forward to. Went to overtime. Nansemond knocked off Kings Fork. Well, I'm not going to miss it this time because I'm going to see that next week. Lafayette, War Hill, Warner Stadium, October 6th. So we're still looking at a couple of weeks away. It'll be right there in early October. Circle it on your calendar as a game to go see. What will it take to get Ed Young to do the War Hill walk? Are you familiar with the War Hill walk?
No, I got to see it first.
All right, you got to see
practice it, and I might be able to do it.
All right. I think Mike Whittington had to do it for Poquoson as the AD because they got it.
Yeah, it was his first official game as athletic director, and welcome to the Bay Rivers.
Yeah, that was a humbling experience, I'm sure. But the Islanders should bounce back in Class 2 Region A, where I don't think there's a team that's definitively better than them. And here's the last one, number 5. with Union knocking off defending VHSL Class 2 state champ. Yeah, they beat Graham, the G-Men, 27-14 in one of the best rivalries in Southwest Virginia. It halted an 18-game winning streak that was the second longest in the state at the time. It could be a sign of more surprises to come in the playoffs. So what do you think about that? Union knocking off the G-Men and not the New York Giants. We're talking about the Graham G-Men. And that was a surprise, Ed, because I thought Graham, I've made the statement, they got Tydres Clements back, their stud running back, although he might have been dinged up and didn't play this game. I thought they were a hands-down favorite in Class 2, and their rival from Big Stone Gap, Virginia, takes them down. So as you look at the rankings for Class 2 that popped back up on the screen, we just talked about Pocosin, who was in the top 10 at number 9. Radford's 2, they probably moved to number 1 with Landon Clark, a quarterback getting recruited by Old Dominion and others. Central Woodstock, Riverheads, who won a number of state titles in Class 1, lost to Central Woodstock, Glenver, Clark County, who we talked about last week, and the Hats hits Union, Ridgeview, Pocosin, Appomattox, who's a stalwart and perennial power. I think this opens the door for Class 2 as not Graham's division hands down. Now I got to reconsider it a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's some really strong parity among possibly the top 5 for sure, maybe top 6.
Is Union in that top 6 now? Who do they jump
Well,
with this big one?
they knock off number 1. I don't know if you can leave them where they're at, but then again, who in front of them lost or struggled to win a game they should have won bigger? Then that team moves down, you move Union up. Graham's the number 1. They lost. Well, they lost to a good ranked team, but do you put them at number 2 now since they lost? But I think that region right there is a little bit more open than some of these other regions.
That's Region 2D with the G-Men and the Bears out there in Bluefield and Big Stone Gap. But Class 2 in general, you think is more wide open?
Yeah, I do. I really think we can make a case for maybe top 5, 6 teams to win it. And here is Union beating the number 1 team right now. But Graham is not done by any stretch of imagination. They will be heard of. And the proverbial to get to the playoffs, you're going to have to go through them is there.
All right, so there you have it. We're going to take a timeout and come back with our NFL picks for week number 2. Ed has been studying diligently for this all week long, but we're going to hear from a couple more of our sponsors, including Gatorade. Quench your thirst with the Gatorade.
Every year, thousands of athletes disappear in clutch moments due to falling hydration levels.
I used to go missing all the time. I let everyone down. I even let Shannon Sharp down.
Yeah, you let me down.
They've been told how you feel yourself doesn't matter. That electrolytes are all the same. Then just like that, they're gone. Get yourself back in the game. Get yourself a Gatorade. Could be the difference between dominating and disappearing. Gatorade. Rehydrate, replenish, refuel.
Okay, who here has reached peak fall?
Peak what?
Peak fall.
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back.
I just love fall.
Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it. Peak fall achieved. DQ, happy tastes good.
back with Hatfield and Young at the PLEX 757 Saturday Sports Talk style. As always, if you want to reach out with the show, you can drop us a note at hatfieldsports@gmail.com for me. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel. And people, to do Ed's little soapbox, people, we need more on board. If you want to get on board and sponsor the show, support the show, it's growing. The list of folks from Dairy Queen to One Life Fitness, Triumph Realty, the Drip Bar, Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers, CHKD Sports Medicine, John's Tax Service, Zoop Eatery, Chicho's, Gatorade, stay hydrated with Gatorade, and Pepsi Zero Sugar. I'm going to go grab the Pepsi out of the fridge here in just a second as Ed will talk more to the NFL picks. They're all on board. Chicho's with the pizza, 757 Football Player of the Week. All kinds of great things happening with the folks at Hometown Sports Productions and us at the Virginia Beach Sportsplex with 757 Saturday Sports Talk, which comes your way each and every Saturday morning. You going to chime in with anything, or you just going to sit there and nod your head?
It's not my head. I'm going to let you do the talking. We need the sponsors. I've heard a lot of good things again this week from the people about the podcast. They finally found it as we're no longer on the radio. And they have found it. They like it. Possibility of some of those new sponsors. Talked to two people yesterday and gave them some information. And hopefully they're going to jump on board. So it's getting bigger, getting more fun with it. And again, people, get in here while the getting is good, because later on when we make this the number one podcast of its kind in the state, and we're heading that way already, we may not have room for you on the bandwagon.
All right, are you ready for the NFL picks, Ed? As you, me, and not Dupree, but Bruce Pearl, who we've not heard from this week.
Bruce
had his picks before Sunday's week number 2 game get kicked off, as I know he's studying. He's got his Virginia Beach Mustangs football, and a big shout out to Bruce, everything he's doing to help support our cause as well with all this. Nonetheless, we'll try to put them out there for those on the social pages. Just to recap it, I had Denver minus 3.5. That was a loser. Thanks a lot, Sean Payton. You go lose to Ed's Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, give me a break.
Though I lost the game too, but my Raiders won.
We'll get to yours in a second. Over 46 with the Seahawks and the Rams. That was a miserable mistake. I don't know why I took that, because that was doomed from the very get-go, I think. And the Seahawks lost that game outright. That was one of Bruce's picks. Rams won it 30-13, so I just needed a field goal for a push. I would have taken it. I did win on Atlanta minus 3.5. Thank you very much there. I was debating on that one. They beat the Panthers 24-10 to knock off the rookie quarterback in one, Bryce Young. And so 1-2 for me. You were 1-2. You lost on Minnesota minus 5. They got beat outright by the Bucs and Baker Mayfield. You had Washington minus the 7 against my Cardinals. You didn't cover. It was 20-16, a final in favor of the commies, and I'll call them the commies because that's what they are when they beat my team. They're the commies, not the Commanders, not the football team, not the used to be known as the Redskins. They're the commies. And I did see you get a win at minus 9.5 for Baltimore as the Ravens pulled away from the Texans 25-9. Bruce won on the Jags minus 4.5, and that was kind of a backdoor cover, 31-21, as they got it done in their game with the Colts, an AFC South division foe. Lost on Pittsburgh plus 2.5 as the 49ers just took Mike Tomlin apart, the Denby grad William and Mary product, 30-7, and Seattle minus 5 was a loser, as we mentioned. But let's fire it up, Ed, with the music, and here we go. We have some NFL week number 2 picks going here. You got to go first last time, so the point just say tails I win, heads you lose. I think it does, but I get to go first.
And you took my coin.
I steal your coin. I took it from the bottom of your black Charger. All right, first pick for me. I've been on this all week, just to go for the double whammy to you. You got the Raiders in the background there on your couch. Let me tell you something here, sir. As I flash up on the screen, we put it up on the big screen. We'll go to the game here with the Buffalo Bills and the Las Vegas Raiders. You see this here about Josh Allen? Josh Allen, who stunk with 4 turnovers. You see this? 288 yards, 115.8 rating, and 3 TDs, no picks in the last meeting. That was because the Raiders' defense stunk, and it's going to stink in this game, and Buffalo's going to take out its frustration against this Las Vegas team that's not so great. They got enough guys on defense with Ed Oliver and Matt Milano and Jordan Poyer, as you see there, Gregory Rousseau, to get after the Raiders than Jimmy Garoppolo, who might be, I don't want to wish any bad on him, like put him on a gurney, but he could be out of this game by second quarter. Buffalo's going to win this game going away. Book it at 42-16. Bills in a rout. It is the lock of the week. It is the guarantee of the week. And your boys from Las Vegas are in trouble. So let me take Buffalo minus the 8 for pick number 1. You get to take the next 2, sir. And I know you weren't going in that direction, were you?
No, I'm not touching Buffalo and the Raiders. I think Buffalo wins. And I do believe they're going to win by double digits. I hope I'm
here. Did they win by 7 and I lose by a point? That would really stink here.
Yeah, and I hope that happens to you. My one I'm going for first and foremost. Now I heard from Dressing News, is Stroud playing for Houston this week? I heard he was questionable.
I'm not the injury report guy, so I would not be the right person to ask. I have not looked at this. I don't know why he'd be questionable. You might be getting him mixed up with the other rookie quarterback who I heard was questionable, which was Anthony Richardson.
No, it was Stroud. I'm going with Houston in the game. I want to almost say whether Stroud plays or not, but I couldn't even tell you who the backup quarterback for Houston is with the search warrant. So
with a search warrant? Why don't you just use? First of all, you don't need a search warrant. Okay? That's number one. Why don't you just use a tool known as Google to see who the backup quarterback is for the Houston Texans? And
I ain't wasting my time. I'm going out on the limb.
You're too lazy. I'll tell you who it is. It is Davis Mills, and number 3 is Case Keenum.
Oh, my God. David Mills. Oh, my God.
Davis Mills. And they have Case Keenum behind him. By the way, both of them would be better than Kenny Pickett on the fantasy football team for us right now, which is sticking up the joint.
Pickett had a bad game. I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
But he'll be better this week.
Then go ahead and make that your second pick. But let's real quickly before you get your pick.
Give me Houston. Houston -1 over Indy. I'm going to take it.
There you go. All right.
And I'm looking hard at New Orleans at Carolina. 39.5 over under.
Oh, that's a great question. New Orleans, Carolina is part of a Monday night double dip. The Saints are favored by 3, and the total is 39.5.
Yeah, I'm going 40. Going 40. I think they're going to put some points on the board. I'm going.
So you're going to pull James Carville win by half a point on the over/under, like the Patriots and the Eagles last week, where he had the under in that New England Philly game, which was under 45.5, and it was 25-21 by half a point. So you're going with 40 points in this game and take it over 39.5.
That's what I'm doing.
All right. Now, I don't get the logic, but all right. With a rookie QB and Derek Carr, who could be playing the Pick Six Lotto on Monday night, along with your boy Kenny Pickett. He didn't go with the Steelers, but maybe we'll save him for you for the last pick you can take. So I get 2 in a row, which is wonderful for me because I have 5 picks written down here. I took 1 already with the AFC selection of Buffalo. And I have 1 more AFC team I'm considering and 3 NFC teams I'm considering. So here's one where I hope to win either way, but if I lose both ways, I'm going to be miserable on Sunday. Don't text me, don't call me, don't bug me, don't say anything to me. I'm going to go dive in the pool and maybe not come out of the pool. The New York Football Giants, Big Blue, who got eviscerated by Dallas on Sunday Night Football, 40-0. They take on my Arizona Cardinals. And look, Arizona gave a good effort, but Josh Dobbs is now our fantasy quarterback number 2 because we were in a bind and there was nobody else to pick up, which means he is due to go 12 of 26 with 3 picks, 2 of which are running back to the house, and that Giants defense led by Wink Martindale will feast, and the Giants will smoke the Cardinals 34-13. I'm laying 4.5, so what will really disturb me and just annoy me is if the Giants win this game by 3, because then I will lose both ways as a Cardinals fan. But I think they're going to spank my boys, the Redbirds. Won't be a lot of bird gang for me. You won't. And people are saying we haven't seen you do bird gang on social media this year. Yeah, you won't be seeing a lot at all this year. My team gave a good effort, came up short, and now it's the race to get Caleb Williams, number 1 pick from Southern Cal. Give me the Giants minus the 4.5. And the last pick, I like a heavy favorite from the NFC East. I like a favorite from the AFC West against a team from the NFC East. So I'm giving Ed two opportunities to steal a pick from me and give me a double whammy here. But I'm going to take a team from the NFC North that lost its opener. And if you pull it up on the screen, you'll see where I'm going with this. And I'm going to highlight something on the numbers here from our good friends at NFL Communications with these capsules that are just awesome. I send these out. I used to send them out to you and one of our radio friends that we did this with on radio. But you'll see on there the Chicago Bears with Justin Fields. 50-plus yards rushing in 5 of his last 6 road games. He's taking on Tampa Bay, who I don't think has as good a defense as they used to. And I know Baker Mayfield at quarterback is not going to have 2 great games in a row. And I think Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker, Virginia native, will have a great game. Give me Chicago as a road dog, 2.5-point dog. I don't understand why they're underdog here. I don't see Tampa Bay starting out 2-0. Give me the Bears plus the 2.5. I would love 3 here to get the field goal to give me at least a push. But I think they win this game outright by a touchdown. I like Chicago to respond in a must-needed spot against Tampa Bay in the Sunshine State. That's my last pick. So to recap, Bills -8, Giants -4.5, and the Bears plus the 2.5 are the 3 selections for week number 2 for me. What is your last selection, Edward, to go with Houston -1 and over the 39.5 with the Saints and Panthers on Monday night? You want to wait till Monday night to get that lead and take the Pittsburgh Brownies game? I know you said earlier in a bold declaration that Pittsburgh owns Cleveland, so here's a chance to take them to respond up in PA, your home state.
And Pittsburgh needs that win coming off a disaster against San Francisco. And Cleveland coming off a sweet win against Cincinnati. But I'm not going to touch that game. Not going to touch that game.
Ooh.
I'm looking hard. And this is a dangerous game because they don't want to be 0-2. The Bengals against the Ravens. I have Cincy a -3.
You do. It was 3.5, so you're going to get the nice cushion here of a potential push, worst come to worst. So you're going with Joe Burrow and the Bengals to bounce back.
No, I'm going with Baltimore. I'm going with the Ravens to smack the Bengals, who will go 0-2 to start the year. And then some people had them in the Super Bowl. But it's still early. You can go 0-2 and win your next, 13 games, 14 games? So, but like everybody says, what I hear the statistics this year, teams that start 0-2 have an 11% chance of going to in the playoffs, period. Cincinnati loses to Baltimore, but Cincy makes the playoffs.
So you're going against the highest paid player in the sport, and Joe Burrow, and taking Baltimore +3 and maybe get the outright win to boot.
That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going Baltimore.
All right, so Ed's going with a bow wow there, and that's going to conclude this edition of 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Hatfield and Young at the Plex. We went a little longer than we anticipated, but we appreciate all the listeners, viewers, comments. Keep them all rolling here as we keep it rolling along in the month of September. And Ed, it should be a fun time as we get towards the middle teeth, the meat and potatoes portion of the football season. We got playoff baseball around the corner. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that my team can find its way there from the desert. Your team has no shot at it. And then we've got basketball starting up right after that.
Hey, and I'm going to give a small shout out to myself. Later on today, I'm getting inducted into the Old School Legends Wall of Fame in Chesapeake. I'm looking forward to it. I've never been inducted into anything. So I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate it that the members of such have selected me to come in. I think a lot of it has to do with the 500 wins attained last year in my coaching career. So a little tickled to have that and see how that goes and get to talk to some veterans and some of the people that are already in it as they kind of do it like the NFL Hall of Fame. They bring back a lot of the people that are in the Wall of Fame, and you kind of get to schmooze with them at the new inductees or whatever. So I'm really looking forward to it.
That'll do it. We thank our guest, Stan Cotten of Wake Forest, and we'll do it again next week with Hatfield and Young at the Plex, 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Make sure you share, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. Enjoy your sports weekend, everyone.